Have you ever found yourself pausing in the quiet of your home, wondering, just for a moment, if someone you loved was standing right beside you? Maybe it was a whisper in the dark, a brush of cool air on your skin when the night was still, or a sudden wave of fragrance, the exact perfume or cologne your loved one used to wear. Sometimes it's a song you shared, playing unexpectedly, or the gentle sense that you are not as alone as you thought. These moments arrive when we least expect them. In the hush after loss, the boundary between worlds can feel impossibly thin. The heart, searching for connection, begins to notice the subtle. A feather on your pillow, the flicker of a light, a familiar phrase echoing in your mind. Centuries ago, sacred texts and ancient traditions spoke of these bonds. In Hebrews 12:1, the Bible reminds us, "Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a cloud of witnesses, a gentle assurance that love is not broken by death, and those who carried it remain close, unseen." Native American wisdom, Celtic stories, and the words of poets across ages have all whispered that our loved ones, in some way, continue to walk beside us. But are these only memories and wishful thinking? Or are there real signs, gentle clues that a loved one is reaching out across the divide, offering comfort, guidance, and love from the other side? Here, on Life After Death Unveiled, we open our hearts to possibility. Tonight, we'll listen for those subtle signs, hear the stories of those who have felt them, and explore what science and spirit have to say about the invisible threads that connect us beyond goodbye. So, take a deep breath and let your spirit soften. For in the quiet, you might just discover that you have never truly been alone. Before we explore the signs, let's ask the question that sits beneath every story. Why do so many people, across cultures and generations, sense that their loved ones are still with them? Grief is not just an emotion, it's a transformation. Psychologists like Dr. Alan Wolfelt describe it as a threshold experience, a crossing between the world we knew and a new world forever changed. Research by Dr. Simon Shimshon Rubin and others has shown that up to 70% of bereaved people report at least one strong sensation of presence after a loss. Sometimes it's fleeting, a whisper, a shadow, a scent. Sometimes it's a vivid visitation that changes everything. In the scientific world, these are often called bereavement hallucinations. But to those who experience them, they feel profoundly real. As Dr. Julie Beischel, director of the Windbridge Research Center, says, these experiences often come with a sense of peace, love, and meaning that goes far beyond what we might call a hallucination. Many believe, and have always believed, that love does not end at death. Let's step gently through the most common signs people report when a loved one is still near, and listen closely to their stories and to what both science and spirit have to say. 1. Scents and fragrances. Out of nowhere. For many, the first sign is a smell, a scent that appears with no physical explanation. In a 2018 study published in Death Studies, nearly 30% of bereaved participants reported experiencing the familiar fragrance of a loved one. Story 1. I was folding laundry one evening, recalls Jennifer from Seattle. Suddenly, I smelled my father's aftershave. He had been gone 6 months. The room was closed, no one else was home. The scent was so vivid it brought tears to my eyes. In that moment, it was as if he was standing right behind me, reminding me I was still loved. Story 2. Sam, a teacher from Florida, shares, on the night before my wedding, I was alone in my bedroom, missing my grandmother deeply. Out of nowhere, I caught the smell of her favorite rose lotion, strong and unmistakable. I whispered, "Thank you," into the air, and a wave of calm washed over me. Science. Neuroscience tells us that scent is the sense most closely tied to memory and emotion. The olfactory bulb is wired directly into the brain's limbic system, where emotion and memory live. Some scientists believe the brain can call up these scents in moments of deep emotion or need, yet even the most skeptical researchers admit, sometimes the context defies explanation. Spiritual perspective. Many traditions believe that spirits use scents as gentle messages, a way of saying, "I'm here, I remember, I love you still." Second, visitation. Dreams have long been seen as a bridge between worlds. A 2014 study at Canisius College found that nearly 60% of grieving adults had at least one vivid dream of their loved one after death, often described as more real than real. Story 1. Tina from Arizona lost her son in a car accident. The night after the funeral, I dreamed he sat beside me in the garden. He was healthy, smiling, and told me, "I'm okay, Mom. I love you. Don't worry so much." I woke up with my cheeks wet, but my heart lighter. I know it wasn't just a dream. It was a visit. Story 2. Ethan, a retired firefighter, says, "My wife appeared to me on our anniversary, sitting at the kitchen table as if nothing had changed. We talked for what felt like hours. She hugged me before she left. I can still feel the warmth of that embrace." Science. Psychologists call these visitation dreams. Unlike typical dreams, they are vivid, coherent, and leave the dreamer with a deep sense of peace. Researchers note that such dreams often reduce anxiety and help with emotional healing. Spiritual perspective. Many believe dreams are the easiest way for souls to visit. Native American and Aboriginal traditions teach that the dream time is a sacred space where messages can cross the veil. 3. Meaningful coincidences and synchronicities. Sometimes, the universe seems to conspire to deliver a sign just when it's needed. Carl Jung called these moments synchronicities, meaningful coincidences that defy logic. Story 1. Jason, from Chicago, remembers, "After my mom died, I kept seeing ladybugs everywhere, on my car, my window, even indoors. She used to say that ladybugs were her sign for good luck. One morning I was struggling, missing her deeply, and a ladybug landed on my hand. In that moment, I just knew. She was saying hello." Story 2. Emily, a nurse in Boston, shares, "On the anniversary of my father's passing, I turned on the radio and our favorite song played, one I hadn't heard in years. I burst into tears, but felt a sense of comfort. It was like he was reaching across time to remind me he was close." Science. While skeptics argue that grief makes us more attentive to patterns, researchers like Dr. Bernard Beitman, author of Connecting with Coincidence, argue that synchronicities often occur at times of high emotion or stress, suggesting the mind, and perhaps something more, plays a role in creating meaning. Spiritual perspective. Many faiths teach that there are no coincidences, only messages. Finding a white feather, a coin with a special date, or seeing repeating numbers like 1111 at just the right time are all considered classic signs of a loved one reaching out. The feeling of a presence. Perhaps the most mysterious and most powerful sign is the simple, undeniable feeling that someone is near. Story 1. When my husband died, says Marie from Dallas, I would sit in his old armchair late at night. More than once, I felt the weight of him sitting beside me, so strong that I almost reached out to hold his hand. There was no fear, just warmth and love. Story 2. Jack, a truck driver from Oregon, describes, "I was fixing my dad's old car, frustrated because I couldn't get it to start. Suddenly, I felt a hand on my shoulder, as if he was guiding me. I looked around. No one there. But I fixed the problem a minute later. I like to think he was helping." Science. Studies published in the Journal of Nervous and Mental Disease show that nearly half of grieving people experience a sense of presence. These experiences are often described as comforting, not frightening. Neuroscientists suggest that the brain, in its need to maintain attachment, may generate these sensations. Still, for those who feel them, the love is real, the comfort lasting. Spiritual perspective. From ancient times, the veil between worlds is said to be thinnest in moments of love and grief. Many spiritual teachers encourage people to trust these experiences, not as fantasy, but as genuine connections. 5. Animals as messengers. Stories of animals behaving in extraordinary ways after a loss are found in every culture. Birds, butterflies, and even domestic pets often seem to appear with uncanny timing. Story 1. After her father died, Sarah from Vermont was visited every morning by a cardinal that perched on her windowsill. He would sit there and sing. Never happened before. Dad always loved cardinals. It was his way of saying he was okay. Story 2. Anthony, whose younger brother passed away, tells, "We always joked that he would come back as a dragonfly. The summer after he died, dragonflies followed me everywhere, at the lake, at work, even in my apartment. I smiled every time. It was our little secret." Science. Animal visitation is so common that grief counselors sometimes ask clients if they've noticed unusual animal behavior. While science sees this as coincidence or a need for comfort, the timing and repetition often feel too precise to ignore. Spiritual perspective. Many Native American and Celtic traditions hold that souls can send messages through animals, especially those with whom they shared a connection in life. These messengers are seen as reminders of love and continuity. 6. Physical phenomena, lights, clocks, and objects. Strange things sometimes happen around the time of a loved one's passing or on meaningful anniversaries. Lights flicker for no reason. Clocks stop at the moment of death. Radios and TVs turn on unexpectedly. Photos fall or appear in odd places. Story 1. When my mother passed, the lights in our hallway would dim and brighten on their own, says Lisa from Pennsylvania. An electrician couldn't find anything wrong. The night of her birthday, they flickered just as we finished singing her favorite song. We all felt she was with us. Story 2. Bill from Nebraska shares, "Every year on my wife's birthday, our old kitchen clock stops at 3:18 p.m., the time she died. Then, 10 minutes later, it starts up again. It's happened 3 years in a row." Science. While electrical faults and battery issues can explain some phenomena, grief counselors acknowledge that these experiences, especially when they coincide with meaningful dates, provide comfort, even if science cannot explain them all. Spiritual perspective. Many mediums teach that spirits can manipulate energy and electronics to send messages. These moments are seen as reminders. I'm still here. Pay attention. 7. A whisper in the mind, inner voice, and intuition. Sometimes comfort comes as a thought, a phrase, or a sudden burst of intuition, words that sound just like the one you lost. Story 1. Jessica from San Diego recalls, "I was driving, lost in grief, when I suddenly heard my father's voice say, 'Look up, the sky is beautiful today.' It was so clear, I had to pull over and cry. That moment changed everything." Story 2. Robert, who lost his wife, explains, "Whenever I'm faced with a big decision, I feel her guidance, a sense of knowing what she would say. Sometimes, the words come into my mind as if she's right beside me. Science. Some psychologists call this continuing bonds, the mind's way of keeping loved ones close. Yet, in many cases, these inner voices provide guidance, encouragement, and even warnings at crucial moments. Spiritual perspective. Many spiritual teachers encourage listening to the quiet voice within. Whether it's your own memory or something more, trust the love that comes with it. It's important to say, not everyone experiences these signs. If you haven't felt them, it does not mean your loved one is gone or doesn't care. Love expresses itself in countless ways, and each soul's journey is unique. Sometimes, signs are subtle, and grief can make it hard to notice them. Other times, loved ones may be moving on, wishing you peace as you build your life anew. If you long for a sign, try this. Create a quiet moment, light a candle, and invite connection with love and gratitude. No fear, no pressure. Keep a journal for dreams and small coincidences. Above all, trust your heart and know that love finds a way, even in silence. So, what do you do when a sign appears? Allow yourself to feel it, without fear or judgment. Thank your loved one, aloud or in your heart. Create a ritual, light a candle, play their favorite song, speak their name with love. Share your story with others. Your experience may bring hope to someone else. Grief is a journey, not a destination. The signs are not proof, but invitations, gentle reminders that love never leaves us, that the soul's journey continues, and that the bonds we create in life stretch far beyond what our eyes can see. The invisible thread of love is never truly broken. Long after the final goodbye, it is often in the quietest moments, a whisper in the dark, a fleeting scent, a familiar song drifting through the silence, that we realize love's presence can linger, gentle and unseen. The signs may be subtle, sometimes so delicate that we question if they are even real. Yet it is this subtlety that reminds us, connection does not need proof, only an open heart. Across centuries and cultures, people have felt the nearness of those who have passed in ways that science cannot fully explain and that the heart instinctively knows. These moments are not about chasing certainty. They are about allowing yourself to trust in something deeper, that love is greater than distance, stronger than time, and untouched by death. So, if you've noticed these signs, however small, let them be a quiet comfort, not a reason to doubt your sanity. And if you haven't, know that love can reach you in ways unique to your own journey, perhaps when you least expect it. If this message stirred something within your soul, please like and share it with others who may be searching for the same truth. Leave a comment about what you felt or realized, so our team can understand the true impact of this message. It means a lot to us. And more than that, subscribe to the channel so we can continue this journey together into even deeper and more meaningful discoveries.